Welcome to Physical Insights. Today, we're diving into the mystery of whether our souls travel to another world through the gateway of dreams, or if it's all just pure imagination. If you find this topic fascinating, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. Have you ever woken up from a dream and felt like you just lived an entirely different life? One so real, so vivid, that for a moment you weren't sure which reality was the real one. Maybe you've had déjà vu from a place you've never been, met someone in a dream who felt familiar but impossible to place, or even received answers to questions you didn't know you were asking. What if dreams aren't just random firings of the brain, but glimpses into something greater, a hidden structure of consciousness, a connection beyond time, or even an alternate reality? In this journey, we're diving deep into the mysteries of sleep, consciousness, and the unseen dimensions that exist beyond our waking minds. From prophetic dreams that defy logic, to shared dream experiences that suggest a collective field of awareness. From the terrifying phenomenon of sleep paralysis to the extraordinary power of lucid dreaming, we'll explore what science, history, and personal experience reveal about the secret world behind closed eyes. And if you've ever experienced something in a dream that felt too real to ignore, then make sure you stay until part 5, because we'll be uncovering something that might just change the way you see your own mind forever. You close your eyes, drift into sleep, and enter a cycle of different stages. But one stands out: REM, rapid eye movement. This is when dreams unfold like vivid films, sometimes so real they linger in memory long after waking. But what makes REM so fascinating isn't just the dreams, it's what happens to the brain. At this stage, brain activity mirrors, or even surpasses, wakefulness, defying the idea that sleep is simply a state of rest. Instead, REM sleep suggests something much more complex, an altered state of consciousness, where the boundaries of perception, memory, and even reality itself are tested. Out-of-body experiences, a science or a mystery? In the 1960s, Dr. Charles Tart, a psychologist and parapsychology researcher, conducted controlled experiments on individuals who claimed to have out-of-body experiences, OBEs. One of his most famous cases involved a subject known as Miss Z. During REM sleep, she reported floating above her body and accurately reading a 5-digit number placed on a high shelf, something impossible to see from her bed. Tart repeated the experiment multiple times, with similarly baffling results, forcing scientists to reconsider whether consciousness might have dimensions beyond physical perception. The Monroe Institute, founded by Robert Monroe, took this further, training individuals to induce OBEs using specific sound frequencies. Participants described traveling to unknown places, seeing verifiable details they could not have known beforehand. Some even recalled interactions with deceased loved ones, sparking debate over whether consciousness can exist independently of the brain. REM and the limits of the human mind. Neurologists and cognitive scientists remain divided. Traditional neuroscience holds that consciousness is a product of the brain, confined to its neural networks. However, REM's heightened activity contradicts the idea that sleep is purely restorative. If the brain is as active or more than when awake, could REM be tapping into something beyond our understanding? Consider NDEs, near-death experiences, often linked to REM intrusion. When REM-like states occur while awake, many who experience NDEs report leaving their bodies, seeing events from an external perspective, then returning with newfound clarity or purpose. Harvard neurologist Dr. Kevin Nelson suggests REM is deeply tied to these phenomena, hinting that it might serve as a gateway to altered states of consciousness beyond the physical. Where does consciousness go in REM? This raises a profound question. Is consciousness merely an emergent property of neurons, or does it have an independent existence? If OBEs during REM can produce verifiable experiences, does that suggest a form of perception that goes beyond the body? Religious traditions have long described similar experiences. In the Bible, The Apostle Paul speaks of being caught up to the third heaven, unsure whether he was in his body or outside of it. In Buddhist and Hindu traditions, advanced meditators report astral travel, states of awareness that seem to transcend the limits of physical existence. Modern science is still searching for answers, but REM, with its paradoxical mix of deep unconsciousness and intense mental activity, may hold the key to understanding the deeper mysteries of the mind. Out-of-body experiences, OBEs, are not just mystical folklore or exaggerated spiritual claims. Reports of these phenomena have surfaced across cultures and time periods, from Christian saints describing ecstatic states to Eastern martial artists reaching heightened awareness through meditation. What makes this phenomenon so challenging for science is its potential verifiability. Can a person truly leave their body, or is this just a sophisticated illusion generated by the brain? Some of the most compelling evidence for OBEs comes from near-death experiences, NDEs. Patients who have been clinically dead, with no measurable brain activity, have later revived and described in astonishing detail what happened in the room while they were unconscious. Dr. Pim van Lommel, a Dutch cardiologist, studied over 300 cases of NDEs and found a striking pattern. Many patients reported floating above their bodies, watching doctors attempt to resuscitate them, and even recalling precise details, such as the color of a doctor's shoes or snippets of conversation between nurses. These are things they should not have been able to perceive if their consciousness was entirely dependent on brain function. If the brain is inactive, then what or who is doing the observing? Fighter pilots also frequently report OBEs under extreme conditions. When executing high-speed maneuvers, the sheer force of G-pressure cuts off blood flow to the brain, causing them to temporarily lose consciousness. However, some pilots don't just black out. They describe the sensation of floating outside their bodies, watching themselves fly from an external perspective. One of the most famous cases comes from Colonel John Stapp, a pioneer in human endurance testing. During high G-force experiments, he recounted a moment of complete detachment, as if he were observing the entire process from outside himself. These reports are not easily dismissed as simple hallucinations, especially when they occur under controlled, replicable conditions. Robert Monroe, one of the leading figures in OBE research, was not a mystic but a pragmatic businessman in the media industry. He had no reason to believe in the supernatural until one night in the 1950s, when he unexpectedly found himself floating above his own bed, looking down at his sleeping body. The experience was so vivid and so unlike a dream that he became obsessed with understanding what had happened. Monroe dedicated the rest of his life to exploring and documenting OBEs. He developed specific techniques to induce them deliberately, leading to the creation of the Monroe Institute, where thousands of people have undergone training to experience controlled OBEs. Some reported traveling to distant locations, and later verifying details they could not have known beforehand. Others described encounters with deceased loved ones, deepening the question, if consciousness can exist independently of the body, what does that mean for our understanding of human nature? If consciousness can separate from the body, then what does this say about who we truly are? Everything science tells us about the brain suggests that awareness is a product of neural activity, chemical and electrical signals firing between neurons. Yet, if OBEs are real and verifiable, they challenge the assumption that consciousness is confined to the brain. This leads to an even more profound implication. If consciousness can exist beyond the body, what happens when the body dies? Religious traditions have long described similar experiences. In Christianity, there are countless accounts of saints who entered ecstatic states, experiencing visions of heaven or divine revelations. Saint Teresa of Avila wrote extensively about moments when her soul seemed to leave her body, enveloped in light, gaining an understanding beyond words. In Tibetan Buddhism, dream yoga trains monks to control their awareness while asleep, allowing them to navigate non-physical realms. These traditions bear striking similarities to what Monroe and modern researchers are uncovering through scientific study. If OBEs are real, they could fundamentally change how we view human existence. They suggest that we may not be confined to our physical forms, that there could be layers of perception beyond what we currently understand. If this is true, then death may not be an end, but rather a transition to another state of being, one that science has yet to fully comprehend. The power of intent, programming your dreams. Nikola Tesla often spoke of the strange, almost supernatural way ideas came to him. He didn't just think through problems in a conventional sense. He saw solutions appear fully formed, as if they had been delivered to him from somewhere beyond his conscious mind. Thomas Edison, known for his relentless work ethic, deliberately tapped into the hypnagogic state, the fleeting moment between wakefulness and sleep, to mine his subconscious for breakthroughs. He would sit with metal balls in his hands, resting them on the arms of his chair, and place metal plates on the floor beneath them. As he drifted into sleep, his muscles would relax, causing the balls to drop and wake him up just as he was slipping into that liminal space. In those moments, ideas would flood in, and he would jot them down before they could vanish. If two of history's greatest minds swore by this method, it begs the question, what else can the subconscious reveal when accessed deliberately? You've likely had a similar experience without realizing it. Have you ever drifted off to sleep and, just before losing consciousness, a solution to a problem appeared out of nowhere? Or perhaps you woke up with a sudden realization about something that had been bothering you the day before? These moments aren't random. They are glimpses into the mind's hidden power, proof that the subconscious is always working beneath the surface, making connections the waking mind struggles to reach. Dreams have long been treated as windows into the mind, but they are not just random firings of neurons. Throughout history, people have reported receiving direct answers to complex problems while asleep. The chemist Auguste Kekulé discovered the structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail, a vision that revealed the molecule's ring-like shape. Paul McCartney woke up with the melody of Yesterday playing in his head, fully composed, as if the song had been handed to him. And you? Have you ever had a dream so vivid, so detailed, that it lingered in your mind all day, making you wonder if it was more than just imagination? These moments are not just accidents. They suggest that the subconscious mind is capable of far more than we give it credit for. If creativity, problem-solving, and even musical masterpieces can emerge from sleep, what else is possible? Lucid dreaming, the ability to remain aware and even control the dream state, is one of the most powerful ways to tap into this hidden potential. But achieving it consistently requires training the mind to recognize when it is dreaming. The first step? Setting a clear intention before sleep. When Tesla worked through problems, he wasn't passively hoping for inspiration. He entered the hypnagogic state with a problem in mind, waiting for the subconscious to present a solution. Before falling asleep, telling yourself, "Tonight, I will become aware in my dreams," or "I want to receive an answer to my problem," programs the mind to focus on that goal even while unconscious. If you've ever gone to bed worrying about something and woken up with sudden clarity, you've already experienced how effective this technique can be. Recording dreams immediately upon waking is another key practice. You've probably woken up from a dream so bizarre or profound that you told yourself you'd never forget it, only to have it slip away within minutes. Dreams fade quickly, and the more they are ignored, the harder it becomes to recall them at all. Writing them down strengthens the brain's ability to remember and recognize patterns. This is how many lucid dreamers begin to see recurring symbols, strange details that don't belong, like a missing finger or an impossible reflection in a mirror. Have you ever realized something in a dream didn't quite make sense? The moment you do, the dream snaps into clarity, and suddenly, you have control. Beyond awareness, Shaping a dream requires direction. Meditation and visualization before sleep can help guide the subconscious toward specific experiences. Buddhist monks practicing dream yoga have used these techniques for centuries, training their minds to navigate the dream world with full lucidity. In modern psychology, athletes and performers visualize success before competitions, priming their brains to act with confidence when the moment comes. The same principle applies to dreaming. By envisioning a place or situation before sleep, the mind is more likely to construct it in the dream world. Have you ever tried to force yourself to dream of something specific? If so, you've already taken the first step. Tesla and Edison didn't believe they were simply working harder than others. They knew they were working differently, using the mind's natural ability to bridge the gap between logic and intuition. If the subconscious holds answers waiting to be unlocked, the dream world is not just a passive escape. It is a tool, one that anyone can learn to use with enough practice. And if you could control your dreams, shaping them however you wanted, what would you do with that power? Shared dreams and the collective unconscious. Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid, so strange, only to have someone close to you describe the exact same dream? Maybe you and a friend both dreamed of standing in the same unfamiliar city, or you and a sibling experienced a shared adventure while sleeping miles apart. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel, but reports of shared dreams are surprisingly common. If dreams are simply the result of neurons firing randomly in isolation, how do two people, sometimes even complete strangers, dream of the same place, the same events, and sometimes even interact with each other in the dream world? Carl Jung proposed the idea of a collective unconscious, a shared psychological and symbolic reservoir that connects all human minds. He believed that deep within our subconscious, we tap into universal patterns, myths, and even knowledge that transcends individual experience. But what if this connection isn't just metaphorical? What if it's real, measurable, and occasionally slips through into our dream states? There are countless anecdotal cases that hint at something beyond coincidence. A pair of childhood best friends, separated for years, report reconnecting in a dream, walking along the same beach they used to visit as kids, only to call each other the next morning and discover they had the exact same experience. A mother and daughter, each in different cities, wake up with the same eerie dream of an old woman warning them about an upcoming event. The daughter shrugs it off. The mother later discovers a distant relative passed away that night. Soldiers on the battlefield have reported dreaming of fallen comrades on the same night, sharing a final moment before waking to learn that their friend had died while they slept. One of the most compelling studies on shared dreaming came from Dr. Stanley Krippner, a psychologist known for his research on telepathy in dreams. In a controlled setting, participants were instructed to send an image or idea to a sleeping subject in another room. When the subject woke up, they often described elements of the target image with startling accuracy. The results weren't always perfect, but they were consistent enough to suggest that, under the right conditions, thoughts or something deeper can travel beyond an individual mind. Religious and spiritual traditions have long recognized dreams as a gateway to something greater than personal imagination. The Bible is filled with stories of divine dreams guiding people toward truth. In Genesis, Pharaoh's dream of 7 fat cows followed by 7 starving ones wasn't just a personal vision. It was a prophecy meant to be understood by another mind, Joseph, who interpreted it as a warning of famine. Indigenous cultures have similar traditions. In many Native American tribes, dream sharing is an accepted and even expected phenomenon. Shamans speak of traveling the dream world together, communicating across distances in ways that modern science struggles to explain. If shared dreams are real, even in a small percentage of cases, what does that mean for our understanding of consciousness? The default assumption in neuroscience is that thoughts, dreams, and experiences are contained within the physical boundaries of the brain. But what if consciousness is not entirely local? What if, under certain conditions, Minds can connect, whether through an unknown biological mechanism, an unrecognized field of energy, or something even stranger. Modern research into quantum entanglement has already shown that two particles can remain connected over vast distances, influencing each other instantaneously. If matter itself behaves this way, is it so far-fetched to wonder whether consciousness, the most complex phenomenon in the universe, might operate on similar principles? If two dreamers can find each other in sleep, if information can be exchanged in a realm outside of waking reality, then consciousness may not be isolated to individual brains at all. It may be something shared, something woven into the very fabric of existence. So the next time you wake up from a dream that felt different, that felt like something more than just the randomness of the subconscious, ask yourself, was I really dreaming alone, or did someone else see it too? The astral plane and its dimensions. You've probably had a dream so vivid, so immersive, that it felt more real than waking life. Maybe you were in a place you had never seen before, but instinctively recognized. Or you encountered a presence, an entity, a guide, or something that seemed to hold knowledge beyond your own. Was it just a product of the subconscious? Or did you step into something larger, something beyond the limits of the physical world? Ancient mystical traditions have long described different layers of reality accessible through dreams. In Christian theology, there are visions of prophets being transported to higher realms, such as St. John's Revelation, where he describes seeing the heavens unfold before him. In Eastern philosophies, Tibetan monks practice dream yoga to navigate different planes of existence, believing that the dream world is not an illusion, but another dimension of reality. The idea that the dream realm is structured and multi-leveled is not just spiritual speculation. Modern lucid dreamers and researchers have noticed patterns that align with these ancient descriptions. Some experiences are tied to the lower astral plane, a space filled with chaotic energy, fears, and unresolved trauma. If you've ever had a nightmare so intense that it felt like something more than just a random dream, if you've woken up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, as if escaping from something beyond your understanding, you may have unknowingly wandered into this realm. Those who study these states suggest that unresolved emotions and negative energy can pull a dreamer into these lower frequencies. Stories of sleep paralysis, shadowy figures, and the eerie sense of being watched all align with descriptions of the lower astral plane from different cultures. Could it be that nightmares are not just psychological, but an actual crossing into a darker aspect of the dream world? Most dreams unfold in what could be considered the middle astral plane, the space of regular dreaming, a realm where personal memories, subconscious processing, and symbolic experiences take shape. It is here that most people unknowingly operate, playing out their desires, fears, and daily concerns in a dreamscape built by their own minds. Yet even here, strange anomalies occur. Have you ever noticed symbols repeating in your dreams? Places that seem to exist consistently, as if they are waiting for you to return? Many lucid dreamers report discovering recurring dream locations, as though certain spaces exist outside their own imagination. And then, there are those who claim to have accessed something beyond the higher astral plane. This is where dreams shift from personal narratives to something profoundly different. Many report experiencing overwhelming peace, encountering luminous beings who communicate telepathically, or absorbing knowledge they never learned in waking life. Some describe floating through vast landscapes of golden light, entering halls of wisdom where they are taught universal truths. Others recount conversations with deceased loved ones, who reveal insights about the nature of life and consciousness. The philosopher Emanuel Swedenborg in the 18th century claimed to have traveled these higher realms in his dreams, documenting intricate descriptions of what he called the spiritual world, a place of profound enlightenment that coexisted alongside our waking reality. If the dream world has structure, then how does one navigate it? The answer may lie in intention. Ancient practices and modern dream explorers alike suggest that what you bring into the dream state determines where you go. Entering sleep with unresolved fear or negative energy often leads to lower astral experiences. On the other hand, setting a clear intention to learn, to explore, to connect with something higher can shift the dreamer's trajectory. Just as lucid dreamers train themselves to recognize when they are dreaming, those who explore these dimensions develop methods to protect and elevate their experiences. Before sleep, visualizing a radiant light surrounding the body is a common technique used across cultures to shield against negative influences. Some believe that simple mental affirmations, such as, "I will only encounter wisdom and guidance," act as a form of subconscious programming that alters the dream's outcome. Skeptics might argue that these experiences are nothing more than complex neurological activity. But if that's the case, why do so many people across time and cultures report the same structures, the same patterns? Why do trained lucid dreamers describe the same landscapes, the same encounters, and even recognize each other in shared dream experiences? If the dream world were truly random, why does it behave with such consistency? If dreams are merely personal hallucinations, then they should fade upon waking, insignificant and forgotten. But if dreams are a gateway to something more, then mastering them could mean mastering access to knowledge beyond what waking life can offer. And if that's true, the real question is, where do you want to go the next time you dream? Precognitive dreams, glimpses into the future. Abraham Lincoln sat in the White House, staring into the distance, haunted by a dream he couldn't shake. He had seen himself in a coffin, mourners passing by in silence. When he asked one of them who had died, the reply sent chills through him. The President of the United States. Just days later, he was assassinated at Ford's Theater. This wasn't just a dream, it was a premonition. Lincoln himself spoke of it, disturbed by the clarity of what he had seen. Was it coincidence, or did he somehow glimpse the future before it happened? Prophetic dreams aren't rare. Throughout history, people have reported seeing events in their dreams before they unfolded in reality. Before the Titanic set sail, multiple passengers reported dreaming of a great ship sinking, some so disturbed by their visions that they canceled their trips. On the night before the September 11th attacks, several people described dreaming of burning towers, crashing planes, and widespread panic. Some dismissed these dreams as anxiety, but others were so shaken, they documented them before the attacks happened, making it impossible to write them off as mere hindsight bias. Science often hesitates to address such claims, yet certain theories suggest time may not be as linear as we experience it. Quantum mechanics has already shown that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously, that observation itself can alter reality, and that entanglement allows two particles to influence each other across vast distances, instantly. If time is simply another dimension, one that the conscious mind experiences sequentially, but the subconscious mind perceives differently, could dreams be tapping into something we don't yet fully understand? Could the brain, in rare moments, glimpse pieces of a future already in motion? Experiments in precognition, the ability to perceive future events, have yielded results that defy conventional explanations. In controlled studies, participants were shown random images, some emotionally neutral like landscapes, others highly disturbing like violent accidents or explosions. Their physiological responses were measured, and in many cases, subjects began reacting to disturbing images seconds before they were even shown. Their bodies anticipated something their conscious minds had no way of knowing. Was this merely an unconscious pattern recognition system, operating at an extraordinary level? Or did their minds momentarily step outside the flow of time? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed in the idea of a collective unconscious, a vast network of human experience, archetypes, and knowledge that all minds tap into. He documented multiple cases of dreams predicting real events, and argued that consciousness might be more interconnected than we realize. In religious texts, prophetic dreams are not only common, but often treated as direct messages from the divine. The Bible is filled with accounts of individuals receiving visions in their sleep. Joseph interpreting Pharaoh's dream to predict 7 years of famine. Daniel decoding Nebuchadnezzar's dreams to reveal the rise and fall of empires. These stories, spanning centuries and cultures, suggest that the phenomenon of prophetic dreams is not a modern invention, but a deeply ingrained part of human experience. Skeptics argue that dreams predicting the future can be explained by probability and pattern recognition. If millions of people dream every night, some will inevitably dream of events that later occur, purely by chance. But does that explain why certain dreams contain verifiable details about future tragedies? Why multiple people dream of the same event before it happens? Or why those who experience these dreams often wake up with a deep, unshakable sense of warning? If dreams are more than just a chaotic reflection of the subconscious, if they can, even in rare cases, act as glimpses into the future, what does that mean for our understanding of time, fate, and free will? If Lincoln had taken his dream more seriously, could he have changed his fate? If the passengers who dreamed of the Titanic sinking had spoken louder, could lives have been saved? And if time is not fixed but fluid, then what else might our dreams be trying to tell us? Overcoming nightmares and sleep paralysis. You wake up in the middle of the night, fully aware, but unable to move. A weight presses down on your chest, an unseen force looming over you. Maybe you hear whispers, maybe you feel an icy presence in the room. You try to scream, but no sound comes out. This is sleep paralysis, one of the most terrifying and mysterious experiences known to humankind. Science calls it a misalignment between the brain and body during the sleep cycle, but for centuries, cultures around the world have described it as something far more sinister. The phenomenon of sleep paralysis is recorded in nearly every civilization, often with strikingly similar details. In medieval Europe, people spoke of the old hag, a shadowy entity that sat on the victim's chest, suffocating them. In Japan, it was kanashibari, a spirit that immobilized people in their sleep. The Islamic world has long warned of the jinn that lurk in the darkness, whispering in the ears of the paralyzed. And in modern times, those who experience sleep paralysis often report something eerily familiar: shadowy figures, a presence in the room, a sense of pure dread. How is it that across history, across cultures, even among people who have never heard of sleep paralysis before, the descriptions remain the same? Science offers a simple answer. Sleep paralysis occurs when the body is still locked in the REM state, while the mind wakes up. The hallucinations are explained as dreams bleeding into wakefulness, and the pressure on the chest is due to the temporary paralysis of the muscles. Logical, neat, easy to accept, until you experience it yourself. Ask anyone who has gone through sleep paralysis, and they will tell you, it doesn't feel like a trick of the brain. The fear is too real, the presence too distinct, the energy in the room too heavy to dismiss as mere imagination. The question is, if sleep paralysis is just a misfiring of the brain, why do some people report the same entity returning to them night after night? Why do some claim to have seen the same shadow figure that a friend or sibling has described, even though they never spoke about it? And why do some people wake up with unexplained scratches, bruises, or the feeling of having been physically restrained? In 2016, a study published in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience explored the connection between sleep paralysis and out-of-body experiences. Some researchers believe that instead of being a terrifying glitch in the sleep cycle, could be a doorway, a moment where consciousness is freed from the physical body. Those who practice astral projection and lucid dreaming have suggested that sleep paralysis is not something to fear, but something to navigate, Some experienced dream explorers claim that by shifting their focus away from fear and into intention, they can push beyond the paralysis and enter a fully conscious out-of-body state. Instead of fighting it, they surrender to it, using it as a launching point for exploration beyond the physical. This idea echoes ancient practices. Many Tibetan monks practicing dream yoga have reported a transition from paralysis into a state of awareness, where they can travel beyond the body. In Christian mysticism, stories of saints experiencing visions often begin with an inability to move, followed by what they describe as being lifted into another realm. The Sufi tradition in Islam speaks of a spiritual waking that can occur between sleep and consciousness, a moment where the soul briefly separates from the body before returning. Skeptics argue that these experiences are simply the mind constructing narratives to explain a frightening neurological event. But even if that were true, it doesn't explain why so many people who approach sleep paralysis with an open mind instead of fear report a sudden shift from terror to transcendence. What if sleep paralysis is not a curse, but an opportunity? What if the real problem is not the paralysis itself, but how we react to it? Those who panic often describe the experience as pure horror, but those who surrender to it sometimes describe the most profound experiences of their lives. If you've ever been trapped in your own body, unable to move, feeling something watching you from the darkness, you know how terrifying it is. But what if, next time, instead of resisting, you leaned into it? What if sleep paralysis is not a prison, but a threshold? And what might be waiting for you on the other side? Transforming sleep into a tool for expansion. Sleep isn't just a biological necessity. It's a gateway, a tool, a landscape waiting to be explored. Every night, you step into a realm where time bends, reality shifts, and your mind operates on a level far beyond what waking consciousness allows. But instead of simply passing through it passively, what if you could use it? What if you could harness your dreams, not just as fleeting images, but as a space for learning, problem-solving, even transformation? The first step is awareness. The mind is a complex machine, constantly absorbing and processing information. But dreams slip away easily, fading like smoke the moment you wake. That's why those who seek to unlock the power of their subconscious keep a dream journal. The simple act of writing down a dream strengthens memory recall, making it easier to recognize patterns, recurring symbols, and moments of lucidity. It's no coincidence that some of history's greatest minds, Carl Jung, Salvador Dali, even Stephen King, kept meticulous records of their dreams. Jung believed they contained access to the collective unconscious. Dali deliberately used them as inspiration for his surrealist masterpieces. Without capturing them, these insights are lost. How many ideas, solutions, or warnings have you forgotten just because you never wrote them down? But recording dreams is only the beginning. Setting an intention before sleep shapes the dream itself. Ancient cultures understood this long before modern psychology caught up. The indigenous Sainwa people of Malaysia built their entire belief system around controlling dreams, teaching their children from a young age to set goals before sleeping, whether for problem-solving, confronting fears, or seeking guidance. Even in Western traditions, religious figures spoke of dreams as divine messages that could be influenced through prayer and meditation. Today, neuroscience suggests they were onto something. Studies on lucid dreaming show that people who deliberately tell themselves what they want to dream about before sleeping significantly increase their chances of experiencing it. The mind, even in sleep, follows direction. But intention alone isn't enough. Consciousness in dreams is like a muscle. It strengthens with practice. Lucid dreamers use specific techniques to wake up inside the dream, to recognize the illusion and take control. Reality checks, small, intentional actions during the day, like asking yourself, "Am I dreaming?" Train the brain to do the same while asleep. With enough repetition, the habit carries over into dreams, triggering the realization that you are, in fact, dreaming. Once that happens, the possibilities become limitless. Some use the skill for creative breakthroughs. Nikola Tesla visualized entire machines in his mind, often receiving insights in the hypnagogic state just before sleep. Artists, musicians, and writers have credited dreams with some of their most famous works. Others use lucid dreaming to overcome deep-seated fears, practicing courage in a space where failure has no consequences. In psychological studies, people suffering from chronic nightmares have been taught to become aware in their dreams, turning nightmares into opportunities for healing. And then, there are those who push even further, exploring the possibility that dreams are more than just a construction of the mind, that they might be a gateway to something beyond personal experience. If sleep is a tool, the real question is, how are you using it? Do you let dreams drift away into nothingness? Or do you take control, engage, and direct them? Every night, your mind steps into a world where limits don't exist. The only thing standing between you and mastery of that world is awareness. So what will you do the next time you close your eyes? And before you go to sleep, don't rush to turn off the video. Take a moment to program your dream by writing down the dream you want to control tonight in the comments. And don't forget to leave me a like and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.